Hi, my name is Eliza Jacobs, and I have ADHD and anxiety. I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 14 and with anxiety when I was 15. Both of these disorders have affected me in all areas of my life, but where they have done the most damage, school. Before my ADHD diagnosis in middle school, I struggled greatly. I had an exceptionally hard time staying focused in class and could often be found trying to talk to my friends during a lesson. Every year at parent-teacher conferences, my teachers would tell my parents that I was very smart, but that I get in my own way by distracting myself and others. Nobody knew how to help me, and I didn't realize anything was wrong. Finally, when I was in 8th grade, one of my teachers suggested to my parents that I get tested for ADHD. Sure enough, I was diagnosed and put on medication. I had no idea what ADHD was or what the medication was supposed to do, but everyone in my life said it was like night and day once I started taking it. I remember them telling me that one day I was distracted and unable to get anything done, and then the next I was focused and getting all of my work done with time to spare. Unfortunately, I couldn't feel a difference, and after 2 years on medication, I decided to stop taking it. Shortly after that, I had another psychoeducational evaluation and was diagnosed again with ADHD and also with anxiety. By then, I was in 10th grade and knew enough about what ADHD was that I was terrified to let anyone know that I had it. I suppressed my diagnosis and did not get medication for my ADHD or anxiety. I didn't want to be the kid that needed extra help or medication to be able to do well in school. I didn't want to be different. For 2.5 years, I cried at least twice a week over school-related things. I was in a vicious cycle. I would get anxious about not doing something perfectly the first time, so I would put off starting it, but then I would get anxious about how much work I had to get done and become mentally paralyzed and unable to do anything other than cry and sleep. Even though I was suffering hugely, I still refused to ask any of my teachers for help out of fear that my friends and classmates would see me as different. It took me until I was a junior in college to acknowledge my ADHD diagnosis. Through my university's counseling center, I found an academic support group for students with ADHD, and I finally felt safe and comfortable enough to accept and embrace my diagnosis. Meeting other people that were struggling with the same things as me was life-changing. I learned how to communicate my needs to my professors and ask for help when I needed it. I was able to receive accommodations such as extra time on tests and quizzes and access to a note taker. Although my accommodations have helped me academically, they have made me feel as though my accomplishments are not entirely my own. If I get an A on an exam, was it because I really knew the content or because I had an extra half hour to finish it? I want to change the structure of accommodations in education to benefit all students rather than carving out exceptions for students with learning disabilities like me. This wish, along with my experiences from middle school onward, has fueled my passion for what I have been calling accessible education. To me, accessible education is conveying information in a way that all students, both with and without learning disabilities, can understand and keep up with. Accessible education is having accommodations built into the class structure so that every student has the support they need to succeed without feeling like they're receiving special treatment. My vision for accessible education is very similar to Universal Design for Learning, or UDL. UDL is defined in the Higher Education Opportunity Act as a scientifically valid framework for guiding educational practice that A, provides flexibility in the ways information is presented, in the ways students respond or demonstrate knowledge and skills, and in the ways students are engaged, and B, reduces barriers in instruction, provides appropriate accommodations, supports, and challenges, and maintains high achievement expectations for all students, including students with disabilities and students who are limited English proficient. This aligns with my idea of accessible education, specifically the portion about reducing barriers in instruction. In their 2019 systematic literature review on UDL in post-secondary STEM education, Schreffler, Vasquez, Cheney, and James touch more on this. They write, instead of focusing on accommodations for students with disabilities, UDL provides a framework to change the actual learning environment. They go on to emphasize that students without disabilities also benefit from a UDL classroom the same way students with disabilities benefit. UDL and accessible education will not only allow students with disabilities to get the support and help they need to succeed, but will also allow students without disabilities to become more involved and excited about their own educational journey. The key to making accessible education and UDL work is paying attention and listening to your students. Pay attention to where they succeed and where they struggle. Pay attention to how they are similar and different from one another. Listen to what they're asking, listen to their stories. Understand what they have been through and understand what they need. The answer lies in me, the answer lies in you, the answer lies in accessible education. Thank you. This podcast is brought to you by Growing Up STEM, an interdisciplinary REU, STEM education, supported by NSF-DUE 1852045.